And welcome back to Tommy's Tesla Tech and Travel, a comic book edition, but not just any comic book edition, a comic book unboxing. Ah. If you recall, about 6 weeks ago, we actually sent in 6 books to get graded, as seen here in this video. Those books were as follows: New Mutants number 98, Secret Wars number 8, Amazing Spider-Man 252, and The Incredible Hulk 180, 181, and 182. Let's see what grades we got back, and let's go over what grades we thought we were going to get. The Snuggie's awesome, but it's getting really hot. And before we get into the unboxing, I have a confession I have to make to y'all. I cheated. I totally cheated, and I'm admitting I cheated. When I saw that my package was getting ready to ship, I went to go in there and just to see if it's, actually shipped and if I have a tracking number yet. And when I did, there was no information other than saying, it's in the shipping state. Then I finally got the message that the package had shipped, and I logged into CBCS, and where it would show you like the normal progress of that particular order, it actually just popped up and I saw all the grades. So I know what they are, but you don't. We're gonna go over them one by one, and we're gonna talk about what I thought it was and what it ended up being. And I gotta tell you right now, I'm not too happy about 2 of the books and excited about one of them. So let's go over those one by one, starting with New Mutants 98. For those of you who don't know, this is the very first appearance of Deadpool in comics, created by Rob Liefeld. And about what, I think 1990, if I remember correctly. Does it say the year on here? 1991. This is a direct edition, so it's not a newsstand. I'm not too big on the newsstand versus direct editions. That part never really matters to me as far as the comic book. I was never a huge Deadpool fan. Then over the last few years, I've become more and more of one because I love Brian Posehn, I love Jerry Dugan, and they did a great job on their run writing Deadpool. So I started giving it more of a chance, and it's really growing on me. And when I had the opportunity to buy this, I thought it was a no-brainer because I got it from my friend's shop, Eric over there at Presidio Comics, and he gave me a great deal. So I personally thought this book was about a 9.2. The pages inside were, to me, white, maybe off-white depending on who was actually looking at it that day, but I thought they were actually pretty solid pages, and the book itself is in really good condition. So I thought it was going to be a 9 and 9.2. Well, it came back a 7. I don't think I've ever been that wrong on a book I've sent in before. I've usually got a pretty good eye for what the book's going to be and what I think it's going to be. A 7 was way lower than I was expecting. But you know what? It's still a great quality book. If you look at what it sells for, what I paid for it, I'm still out ahead on this book. But the reality is, oh man, I thought it was going to be higher. And it says off-white to white pages. I thought it leaned more towards white pages, but it is a newer book, so they are held to a little bit higher of a standard. And with that being said, I do like sending my stuff to CBCS because I think they grade harsher. So I think a 7 with them is a 7.5 to an 8 with CGC. And before we go any further, please forgive my disheveled hair. I just started back to work after my 2 months for recovery from surgery. I'm a little disheveled and it's late at night, but I couldn't wait to get this video made, so I just jumped right in as soon as I got home. We're going to talk about the next book now, which is Amazing Spider-Man 252. But before we do that one and reveal the grade, I got kind of a bone to pick with CBCS / I want some clarification possibly. So we all know this book here as the first appearance of the black suit in official Spider-Man continuity. That being said, I also picked up this not that long ago, Marvel Team Up number 141, which is the actual first appearance of the black suit. Now they both came out in May of 1984, and if you look at the notes, this one says first appearance of the black costume. In fact, it specifically says first appearance of black costume, Black Widow, and Kingpin appearance. But if you look at certain labels, it says first black costume predates, and it lists Amazing Spider-Man 252 and our next book, Secret Wars number 8. But this one also says first appearance of the black costume. So which one is it, CBCS? Is it Marvel Team Up 141? Or is it Amazing Spider-Man 252? Now with this book, I thought it was going to be an 8.5 to a 9 because it was really solid. The pages, the color inside kind of got me a little scared because I thought they were definitely going to be off-white, which they were, but I was not expecting this grade. Not the 8.5 to 9 I was expecting. I got a 5.5. And even looking back, and I took little notes that I kind of came up with myself as I was like looking over the book. Not even my wildest dreams. Like I was shooting for an 8.5 to a 9. But in my notes I said most likely a 7, 7.5 candidate. 5.5, that blew my mind how low that was. That really shook me. Whoa, that was scary. Thought I knocked it over. I've already dropped 1 book this year, never again. But yeah, 5.5, that really took me aback. I was thoroughly shocked by that. I thought at the minimum it was gonna be a 7, but a 5.5 on that one. But as I say, it's always darkest before dawn. I got the Secret Wars number 8 when I was up in Vancouver, Washington visiting my dad, and I always like to stop by a shop there called I Like Comics. And I've said it before, and I'm on record, I've purchased several books there, several key books, And a majority of them, I believe 2 out of the 3 specifically I'm talking about, they told me it was 1 grade and it came back significantly lower. There was one occurrence where they said it was going to be a 4 and it came back a 4.5. So, you know, it's all up to our interpretation. I know the owner there likes to talk about how he was trained by those who started like CGC and CBCS, but it's always just, you know, what they determine it being based off of their knowledge, which is the same thing I'm doing here with my knowledge, which so far, as we know, I was way off with those two. This one was sold to me as a 9.2, and I thought that was spot on. I thought it was gonna be a 9.2. Well, this one came back a 9.4, so outstanding. This one was a higher grade than we thought it was gonna be, and even what I Like Comics thought it was gonna be. So yay, kudos, and right on. And you notice the theme with those books there. I wanted to get those first early appearances of Spider-Man in the black suit because my son Henry, his favorite character for the longest time was Spider-Man. And when I buy comics, I don't just buy them for me, I buy them for my kids, for when I have long shut off this mortal coil. My comic book collection is going to go to them to do with it what they will. So I might as well buy books I know that they're going to like as well, and books that mean something to me, and they're just really cool to look at. I mean, look at that there. So yeah, this is going on the shelf next to us. Behind me here, I don't know how well you can see it. They got Spider-Man 300 there on the end. So we got the first appearance in Marvel Team Up 141, first appearance in continuity with Amazing Spider-Man 252, and then the origin of the symbiote right here before eventually becoming Venom. Awesome. And actually, I know Venom's in theaters starting this weekend. Can't wait to go see it. I wasn't a huge fan of the first 2, but for some reason, this one is really calling to me, so I can't wait to check that out. On to the Incredible Hulk. So for those who've been following my channel for a while, you know this is kind of my 1968 Shelby Mustang, if you've seen the movie Gone in 60 Seconds. It's a book I've now owned and sold 3 times. And each time there was a reason behind it. Like, I don't regret it. It just kind of stinks. The first one I ever got, I picked up for $17 way back when. And I even told the place, like, it was like a mom and pop type shop. And I even told them before I left, hey, I think this book is worth considerably more. And they were just like, no, that's what we have it marked at, go for it. And that's because that one had a big number 3 written on it. And presumably it was just because of their own like inventory system or whatever, because it's a book from the 1970s. So it really doesn't affect it. Yes, there's writing on it, but it's still a valuable book. But I was a broke college kid. That $17 was, you know, not a lot, but it was a lot for me. And then an opportunity came up to sell it for considerably more. I think I sold that one for a little over $200 or $300. Then I bought it years later for like $160, ended up selling that one for like $350, $400. Again, broke college kid, needed money for bills. Then the very last time, it was part of a trade to one of my friend's shops for a book that I needed at that point in my collection. And I always regretted it. So when the opportunity to buy it again, I jumped on it. And we actually got to meet someone. This was at WonderCon, but Phase 1 Comics. I'll put the link down below. He was a huge Invincible fan, so was I. And we hit it right off the bat. And that's why I bought this from him, because I like to buy from people, not necessarily just for the sake of getting the book. This one I predicted to be a 4.5 or 5. I think that was also, I wrote my little notes I made again, that 4.5 to 5 was a stretch. And I was fully aware of that, because there's one big collar-breaking crease right here on the front. But otherwise, this book's in pretty good shape. So in my notes, I said 4.5 to 5. In the last video, I said 4.5 to 5. But in my notes, I wrote down 4, absolute worst case scenario, 3.5, which will still be the highest grade I've ever had of this book. And what it came back as was a 4.0. So we were kind of on the money. That 4.5 and 5 was my stretch goal, but in my notes, I said 3.5 to 4. This one really came back what we thought it was going to be. And it's the first appearance of Wolverine in cameo. I just think it's the first appearance of Wolverine because he's in the final frame. He's like, now the Wolverine. Like, it's his first appearance. And I'm totally doing these out of order right now because I'm saving the best for last, as I say, which is the Incredible Hulk 181. This is Incredible Hulk 182. It's the third appearance of Wolverine, also in cameo. And it's kind of like that holy trilogy, the Incredible Hulk run. Now, this one I bought and paid a little extra for because myself and the person I bought it from, we both agreed this was a pretty decent copy, especially with being raw. He thought it was more of a 7.5 to 8, and I believe I thought the same thing. I think I said 7.5 to 8 in my original assessment. So I was shocked when it came back a 5.0. It says off-white pages, but the colors on the front are great. There's no color breaks. The pages on the inside, to me, are off-white white, but this just lists them as strictly off-white. I really find that shocking and surprising. But again, as I stated earlier in this video, I truly believe CBCS grades harsher, which is why I like to go through them, because you know the grade you're getting. It's not just throwing it out there for the sake of throwing it out there. So I think CGC, again, Don't come at me. Well, come at me. Whatever. What are you going to do? It's on the internet. See, a lot of the grades I see on those, I think they're very generous. Like, I've seen some books that they've listed at 7.5, 8, where I'm like, that's a 4 or 5. Just looking at it, right? So I'm really shocked this one came back a 5.0, but not as shocked as the grade I got back with my 181. And I feel there's a huge caveat there. And that caveat is as follows. My Incredible Hulk 181 was purchased from a friend of mine, and I feel he gave me a very good deal on it. I won't talk about the total price because people think I'm crazy for what I spend on my comics, but you're watching this video, so you feel me, your family. So 181, this particular one is missing that Marvel value stamp, but it's not just nicely cut out. It's actually a fair section of the page. About 2/3 of the page was cut out when the Marvel value stamp was taken. So we all know that immediately drops the value. But doing some research before I decided to send this in, and I was always going to send it in no matter what, because this is one of those books you want to protect and encapsulate. It's still a great book to own no matter what the condition is, right? I thought it was going to be a 1.5 to 2 solely based on the fact that I was missing the Marvel value stamp. If it had the Marvel value stamp, this is without a doubt a 4.5 to 5 candidate. Like, it's listed as off-white white pages, which again, off-white white, that should be kind of mid-range to lower mid-range or higher mid-range. So, okay, off-white to white. The cover is actually extremely well presenting. The staples could be better, but again, that's why I'm saying a 4 or 5 candidate, right? So I did a little research when I was looking at other books in that range with missing the Marvel value stamp, same condition. There has been plenty that have shown up as 1.8s all the way up to 3.5s. So I'm like, okay, let's kind of go in the median. If I think it's a 4 or 5 based on this condition, everything else, the fact it's white off-white pages, I'm hoping it comes back a 2 to 2.5. I know I put in the video, the last one, I thought it was going to be a 1.5 to 2, but I thought 2, 2.5 would be fair. And I've seen plenty of evidence that they do books like that missing the Marvel value stamp. With that being said, it came back a 1.0. And only reason being, if you look at the notes, is 2/3 of page 10 are missing. Does not affect the story. Book is incomplete. The fact is, page 10 is there. It's just cut. And it's not even like cut. It's not 2/3 of the page this way. It's a square leaving an L shape in the book itself. So I think this book should be a lot higher than what it is. And of course, this is like a subjective opinion based on just the overall quality of the book. Because how many times have we seen books that are 3.5 to 4 that are missing a very large section of like a front cover, so it doesn't even present well. And we have books that are missing its entire cover based on their rarity and based on the overall desire for the book, get way higher grades. And it's missing a chunk by all intents and purposes. It's the same thing when you think about it. So 1.0 to me is kind of insultingly low for the book, even with the Marvel value stamp page being affected the way it was. Tell me what you think down below. Do you think a book should be a higher grade even if they're missing a small section? Because it's not like they're making any more of Incredible Hulk 181. This is a book that sells for $7, $10, $90,000+ depending on that grade. A 1.0 for a perfectly intact book minus that Marvel value stamp page with white to off-white pages and a extremely well-presenting front cover. 1.0 is, to me, way too low. I'm actually very tempted to crack it open and resubmit it to see what a different grader says about this book. Tell me what you think down below. What would you do? And would you be happy with a grade like this? Because not everyone gets to own this book, no matter in any grade, let alone a 1.0. A grade's a grade, but a book's a book. Hey everybody, thanks for watching my comic book unboxing and grade reveal. Again, I love CBCS. I think they have the best protective cases out there for encapsulating your collection. And I think they grade harsher, as evident with the books I showed you here today, not even coming close to the grades I thought they were going to be on some of them. And to be fair, I've been pretty spot on in the past. Watch some of my other videos and you'll see. In fact, I'll link them right over here. So hey guys, thanks for watching. We're going to see more comic book stuff coming up soon. And we have a Disney trip coming up. I'm turning 40 in about a week from today's video. So by the time you're seeing this, your boy's 40 years old, and I'm still collecting comics and toys. Why did my wife marry me? Thanks for watching, guys. Let's take another ride again soon. Bye-bye, everybody.